I would like to officially call to order the Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. And pursuant to the amendment of Bill H3548 and Governor Healy signing such amendment into law in March of 2023, expressing certain provisions of the open meeting law, this public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom Video Communications, Inc. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. Some guidelines for participants. Please utilize the chat or raise hand function to address the board. Participants will remain on mute until they have been addressed by the board, and participants are required to display first and last names. All that said, per tradition, we will start with a roll call of present members. I am Brian Barabee.
Laura Stevenson.
Sue Mitra.
Jim Garrity.
Dan Bosley.
Excellent. All right, first up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to discuss a notice of intent filed for 220 Berlin Road. Lauren, is the applicant or a rep for the applicant here tonight?
Yep, we have Doug Dillon from Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant, and David Razak, who is also here tonight.
Excellent. Doug, do you want to walk us through what is being proposed?
Sure. I'll just kind of walk through the basics. The homeowner, as Lauren said, is with us tonight, and he, has some comments he'll want to say, but I'll just kind of, get the ball rolling. Let's see. Just want to enable screen share while I'm talking.
Please.
So
yeah.
It's a single family home, and looking to propose a variety of backyard improvements. There was some unpermitted impact prior to my involvement in the project. We've kind of got that on lock, like erosion controls. I just want to make that absolutely clear. Like, I've been to the site, it's stable, there's no runoff. We handled it absolutely appropriately. All right, I should be requesting the screen share right now. If you guys are able to.
You should be able to have access with screen share. Yep.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That is the property right there. There is a riverfront, which cuts through, about the midway point of the house, so we've done like a, alternative analysis, and just, there's a lot going on here. I'm gonna hand it over to Dave if you're ready to go, just to kind of, give your angle of things and kind of start this conversation with the homeowner as well, if you're ready.
Sure. Yep. Happy to speak to it. So, hi everyone. Dave Rezak. Nice to be talking with you all. So, homeowner, as mentioned, we've got Doug representing us from Goddard as our wetlands scientist, and then also in the background, obviously, our designers, planners on the contracting side. So, as Doug mentioned, single family home. It was constructed in 2003. We are new homeowners, so we're new to the property, new to Bolton. We purchased in November of last year and moved in January. And so what's proposed is essentially a detached garage with some associated driveway adjustments, and then a backyard project with patio pool area along those lines. As Doug mentioned, there was some unpermitted work. Essentially, we were unaware of and trying to get preparation for some of the planned work, and we commissioned some tree removal. Unfortunately, we were unaware at the time of proximity of wetlands, and the associated regulation recognized that ignorance is not a defense there, but we got unfortunately, some bad advice from contractors that permitting was not necessary, and proceeded. So there's a defined prior impact zone. And then as soon as through the permitting process, we learned about the existence of wetlands and associated buffer zone, we immediately sort of pulled back, making sure there was no additional work going, engaged the Goddard team and executed a delineation and full sort of planning session here. The main intent of that just being, we wanted to sort of lay out all of the perspective adjustments so that the commission here could make a complete sort of impact assessment, or that we could, view the project as a whole and address, any remediation needed from the prior work.
Okay. Can I ask you, or Doug, is there an image that shows good where the resource area lies and the offset? Is it riverfront? Is it 200 foot?
So that image there does probably shows it best, and feel free to take over for me here, Doug, if you've got more technical terminology. But there's sort of an intersection of the wetland, the ORA, right, the upper wetland resource area, and
Yep.
the riverfront area. So along the,
I hate to interrupt. Is it possible to zoom in a bit? Yeah, I just want to
there
see
you
where the. Okay.
Yeah, so Doug, feel free to navigate through kind of the descriptions and markers here. Sure you'd be better equipped.
And it looks like, all right.
Oh, Doug, I'm not getting your audio. I don't know if anyone else is having the same issue.
Sorry. So yeah, as Dave was saying, there is not actually any wetland on his property itself, but obviously we're dealing with buffer zones on his property. So that's the other thing I want to stress, like no actual wetland, hydrosoils were damaged or anything like that. But so to the north, we do have, a mapped perennial stream. It looks to be an old farm stream. You can kind of tell by the very defined right angular channel there. That has been delineated with infield pink flags. So the mean annual high water mark, it has a very defined top bank, and there's a associated BVW kind of just fluttering alongside it. Then it kind of branches out over here, and then we're getting, far off the property. And then to the eastern and southeastern corner behind the house, there is another proper, bordering vegetated wetland, which has been delineated in field with blue flags. You can see right here. One would be kind of approximately where this mouse cursor is, and then it just kind of meanders on downward. Yeah, those are the jurisdictional resources areas present, and then obviously we have the aura as well.
And can you point out those on the 100 foot and is it?
Yep. So the 200 off the river is going to be this dashed blue line right here.
Yep.
You can just follow the mouse right there. We have the 100 or aura, which would be this red right here. And then this would be the 30, which would apply to this lot as a prior developed property as well.
Okay.
And when I did my delineation, seeing the impacted area, I laid out a number of blue pin flags, and I had the surveyor grab those so we could have a shape to work with and kind of something to work, backwards off of and mitigate. That's this pink polygon right here, marked with the LD, 1 through 22 here.
Okay.
And that sort of forms like a larger L shape across the borders of the property.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're 225 from the riverfront, so that's the one we need to focus on, is the 225, not the 200.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we have both.
So coming in off of. Okay. All right. And you said where the clearing was, you would set up erosion controls.
Yep, yeah, fully, essentially the borders of the property, it was like 300 to 400 feet worth of erosion control. We did silt sock and fence.
Okay.
Those are installed properly, correctly. I've seen the property. There's no, erosion or siltation occurring anywhere towards the resource area.
Okay. All right. Let me open it up. Any members of the commission have any additional questions right now or comments?
So I guess I got a comment. So when we're looking at that view that we're looking at here, right? So where is the pool? Where is the detached garage? Is it in this view here?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, we have them as shape file. This would be the pool, this blue. We had a number of parties working on this. We had a surveyor as well as architects. So this is the surveyor's plan. The architect's plan may show those features a bit more precisely. So
Yeah, you need to show it in the context of where the resource areas are, right? So
yeah.
can you go back to the other view you
Yep.
had there and see if you can walk us through where all the
Yep.
additions are going?
So
Doug,
we
I
did
think-
do an alternatives analysis. So we have a version 1 and 2. This right here is version 1, and I can just kind of start. So looking to just widen the driveway slightly in order to better facilitate parking turnarounds. We have a garage here. The pool is this multi-lobed kidney-shaped feature right here in blue. With fencing, safety, surrounding patio features, deck, fire pit. Dave, if I'm missing anything, feel free to chime in.
Right, there's an existing patio and deck that will be adjusted and enlarged slightly, but that's the pool placement is what you're showing, and you can see in this version, this scenario, there is some intersection with the 100-foot buffer. As Doug mentioned, we did execute an alternatives analysis that further offsets or prioritizes that 100-foot buffer. Part of the reason, there are some reasons for the two plans. This one has been presented as our primary site preference for privacy and safety, just in terms of visibility of that area. But recognizing that we've got a number of zones to kind of interface with, we wanted to offer the alternative as well. Doug, do you have the scenario 2 visual?
Yes, right up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the second situation. You can see it's essentially shifted, further north. So the pool is sort of offset to the side of the house, more directly behind the garage. And we've adjusted that structure slightly to account for then the garage providing sort of the, privacy and coverage for some of that patio area. In either case, the adjustments to the driveway and such would be, the same proposal for either plan. The primary footprint of the garage would be the same, just location would shift slightly, and then there's this A-frame extension in the secondary plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other initial questions or comments from members of the commission? Not seeing any.
Brian, I do have a quick question.
Oh, please, Sam, go ahead.
What is the square footage in which you're talking about here? It looks like it's a 2-acre lot, but what is the disturbed area going to look like?
So the disturbed area, we had that figure calculated, is approximately 15,000 square feet. So we had that further broken up by disturbed riverfront area, 200. It would be 7,013 square feet. And then of the 100-foot buffer zone, which we would call the aura as well, that is 8,848. So altogether about 15,900 square feet. And again,
And is
that's
the idea to use like permeable pavers, or is it gonna be concrete?
Dave, you want to hop in and talk about materials
For
choices?
the thinking for the patio area or for
Yes, sir.
the driveway? Yep. Yeah, the intent would be permeable pavers.
Okay, and the driveway, I'm assuming is asphalt?
It is.
So when you do the impacted area, you use the 200 foot, you got to use the 225.
Yep, yeah, we can
You have to recalculate.
just grab that triangle, the remaining.
Okay. Other questions, comments? All right. And I'm going to ask quick to anybody from the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing. Again, seeing none. All right. I'm looking, it looks like we haven't gotten a DEP file number yet.
Yeah, no, I checked today.
Okay. So, generally speaking, we won't come to a decision until we actually see the DEP comments. So we would probably continue to our next hearing. We'd want to schedule a site visit. At least I know I'd want to schedule a site visit. I can put it to the rest of the commission between now and then to get out and take a look at what we're seeing here. What was, with the two plans, I could see the reason for coming up with two plans. The thing is, what I'd want to see when we come out for a site visit, what I really want to see staked is the garage box fully staked, the extension where, how the driveway will be extended, staked out, and then basically the limit of work, the fence that will go around the pool area, basically the total outer edge of that entire pool area staked out. But I want to see it for both plans.
Okay,
So I don't know if there's one you want to kind of move towards before that to highlight. That's one of the things I would kind of want to see in the field. The other thing I remind you, we do have a lot of our new bylaws are around no net loss, so that, the 200 square feet of riverfront, are we proposing mitigation? Do we have mitigation?
Planting area, and again, I kind of use the existing species, the surrounding area, like there's a lot of gray birch, and so spec some of those, as well as some like pepper bush, that various appropriate vegetation.
Okay.
That's
I
another
thought I
thing.
had seen this. I thought I had seen this in there, and
Yep,
we can definitely all take a closer look at this
Yes.
one too. But I just want to make sure we had.
I know, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of pages there.
All right. But I think it would basically require a site visit for us to get out there and again to hear from DEP. One other thing, and this was pointed out by our conservation agent. She feels an additional erosion control barrier should be placed at the extent of the 100-foot aura to establish a no work area to prevent any further violations. Was her suggestion. Does that make sense to you? Is that going to be possible?
So I wanted to discuss that just because some of the, that line would cut through some of what would be his legally, lawfully, historically existing yard. That would just, there's a well head that needs to be accessed kind of like in the middle of it. It just make it tough. And especially if we're going to, the pin flags are still there. Like the work has been stopped. Like nothing is going on the property at all.
Okay.
Like my blue pins are still there. So, I don't believe that's necessary. I can attest to its stabilization.
Okay. No, that's that's fine. I was questioning why if it wouldn't be, and I think that's fine if you feel the site is stabilized. I know we're probably going to have to work on
Exactly. Just
Stabilizing, reestablishing, and then whatever other plans are coming. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, I think that's all my initial comments and or questions. And again, with your permission, we'll continue this. We'll set up a site visit in between. And we'll
Certainly.
wait to hear from DEP as well. But before that, any other comments, questions from members of the commission? Anything people would like to see marked in the field, or anything specifically they would like to see when we get out there?
Yeah, can we see the 225-foot riverfront staked out, just as it pertains to where the work is going to be?
Oh, we'll have to figure something out. Just because of that, I'm trying to imagine how the surveyor, yeah, we can approximate, yeah, kind of where that would be with stakes and color them appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions right now?
One curiosity, just want to make sure that this all makes sense.
Go ahead.
Appreciate the feedback. So just want to make sure I understand. You mentioned that ideally have these flagged out for each plan, or if, sort of through review, we were, leaning towards one or the other, would the preference or would the most helpful thing be to have, the two plans sort of delineated by color or something so that we can, review collectively, or is there a preference for sort of picking a preferred plan in advance, so to speak?
I personally, I would leave that up to you.
Okay.
So long as everything can be marked out in a way we can understand both plans, like you said, whether it's a different color or something, so long as it's clear, if we're going to be out on site, I'm happy to look at both options while we're out there. I think if you were leaning one way over the other and, kind of settle into one plan, it might be clearer to look at in the field, but I'm happy to look at both options so long as we can not easily, but so long as we can differentiate, reasonably differentiate between, what option A and what option B are.
Okay. That makes sense. And then the pool perimeter, that would be the perimeter of the physical pool itself.
No, it's not so much like the outer fence, basically, because I'm
Okay, pool area.
assuming
perimeter,
around the
that
pool,
whole section.
pavers, and whatever, and then wherever the outer fence is going to be, that would work well.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful clarification.
Okay. Any other questions, comments right now? Seeing none. I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the notice of intent for 220 Berlin Road until our next public meeting, Tuesday, July 1st at 7:00 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Laura, and I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your
And
time.
All right.
Doug,
Thank you.
I can
Thank you.
reach out to you sometime tomorrow to see if we can pick a time to schedule a site visit before the next meeting.
Yeah, we can all figure that out in the back end. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good night.
All right.
Thanks.
care.
Thank you.
Excuse me. All right. Next up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to discuss a request for determination of applicability for 76 East End Road. Some tree removal. Lauren, is the applicant or a rep for the applicant here this evening?
The applicant is Stephen Erat, and I don't see him here with us tonight. I do have some photos that I can pull up, though.
I was going to
for
say,
the-
if you want to pull up the photos of the trees, that would be fantastic.
Okay. 1 minute.
And I believe while you're pulling those up, I believe it's 3 trees they were looking to remove. And they said all 3 were dead. Oh, good. Here's a
Yep,
picture
there are
of
3 dead
one.
ash trees. They died due to the emerald ash borer. 2 of the trees they said are close to the stream. Another is about 75 feet from the stream along the road. And I'm not sure which stream they're referring to. They did not submit a plan of the property. They only submitted these photos.
Okay. Can you scroll down to the other 2?
Sure.
No, you're fine. I'm assuming that's, yeah, that's probably close to the stream. That's close to the road. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. I guess for commission members, when I looked at these, I said, it does appear that all 3 trees are indeed dead. Usually, if we're doing 3 or more trees, we'll ask one to be a snag, but I was looking at trying to figure out where theirs were. And I think in this case, I might be okay without saying that they should leave one of the 3 as a snag, but again, I'll put that out to everyone else. As far as conditions go, I don't think they put in there, but I think we can condition that they can be either snagged or level cut, but no stump grinding. I think I'd be comfortable with that regarding this RDA, but I'll open it up to commission members. Other thoughts, questions, comments? All right. So it seems like people are relatively comfortable with that. Lauren, anything I am missing offhand?
I don't have any other notes on it. I think this was just a pretty straightforward RDA.
All right. In that case, I should ask, I'm sorry, any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? And again, seeing none. I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for request for determination of applicability for 76 East End Road. Do I hear a second for closing?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well. I'd like to make a motion that we issue a -3 determination for the request for determination of applicability for 76 East End Road with the following conditions. That the 3 trees proposed be either level cut or left as snags and not be stump ground. Do I hear a second for issuing the -3 determination with that particular additional order?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We on time. All right. So next up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to discuss the notice of intent filed for the Wilder Pond Trail crossing off of Main Street, 117, DEP file number. Do we have a file number, Lauren?
Last I checked, I did not see a file number issued. Drew Shobit is on the call with us tonight. I don't know if
Okay.
he's received an update on that. You here with us, Drew? He is here, but
Okay.
I don't know if we're having issues.
He can't talk right
Yeah,
now.
I checked earlier today and I didn't
Okay.
see a D file number.
Well, I was going to say too, I don't know if you want to pull up the pictures from the project or of the
Sure.
project, the bridge getting replaced.
Yep.
A reminder to commission members, this has somewhat been before us come before us before, in that we actually had asked Rebecca to file this NOI on behalf of the Trail Committee. She had discussed it with us. It was basically repairing a bridge, a trail bridge, but relatively same footprint, but they were changing the materials that were being used for the bridge. So Rebecca thought it was best to come before us as an NOI. We authorized her to submit this. To say, if you scroll down, Lauren, do they have the pictures of them? That's the one. I don't know if this is familiar to commission members, if people remember that hearing or remember this discussion. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So basically it has been submitted as we discussed. We kind of walked through what we wanted to see or what we would be amenable to. The complete NOI is kind of in front of us. I had no, and I have to admit, I read through it relatively quickly over the weekend, but I had no additional questions, concerns. I was kind of fine with it as proposed. However, we still haven't heard from DEP. And generally speaking, our tradition or practice is let's wait to get DEP comments because, again, they may ask for something that we have missed. So I guess that's kind of where that leaves us. I would recommend that we basically continue it until our next meeting, so we can get DEP comments. But between now and then, if people have already had a chance to look at it, if there's any changes or any questions they have tonight, we can put those forward. And also people will have, I guess, an extra 2 weeks to look at it. Cause again, we should really wait for those DEP comments. Are people comfortable with that? People have like initial questions or comments right now? Okay. All right. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the notice of intent for the Wilder Pond Trail crossing until our next public meeting, Tuesday, July 1st at 7:10 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Excuse me, Sam?
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to discuss the notice of intent filed for 89 Spectacle Hill Road, DEP file number 112-0754. Okay. Just an update for those. This week we had opened this public hearing at our last meeting. Between then and now, we had a chance to conduct a site visit. Myself, Jim, and Sue were out on site. We had a chance to look through the project, see what was proposed. And I'm wondering if the applicant or rep for the applicant are here tonight.
I'm here. Jack Maloney from Dillis and Roy.
Jack, do you want to walk us through basically a proposal for meeting our planting plan or mitigation plan? And before Jack gets into that, I'm sorry, I should say for other members of the commission, we went out, basically took a look at how things were laid out. It made sense, the areas that they were using. They were kind of limited in where they could possibly put this new, it's going from not a cesspool necessarily, but
A leaching pit.
thank you, a leaching pit to an actual small Presby septic system for basically to handle the bedrooms of the existing house. Kind of putting it in a central location. That was one of the really only spots available to them to do this. Thank you. That helps a good deal. So we basically went out on the site visit to kind of confirm where everything was, see where they were running into issues on why they couldn't use other parts of the property. And basically in our, I think in our opinions, and I'll let Jim and Sue speak as well. kind of met the burdens for where things were laid out as far as moving the project, minimizing the project. You know, it's spec'd for the size house that's there. And then as far as mitigation goes, that's kind of what I was asking Jack, if he could kind of walk us through what the plan was for mitigation for the trees that would need to come down in that the location that will now be the septic.
Okay, so earlier today, I emailed Lauren and the commission a revised plan and a letter that I had put together yesterday. The trees that are coming down are in this area right here. You can see the darker colored trees that are coming down. What we had talked about out in the field was proposing some arborvitaes, 4 of them along the front of this wall at the base of it, to help cover it, hide it, and then possibly 4 more in this area here. The other thing that we had talked about is, instead of replanting trees in an area that has a lot of trees, an overstory, they may not last or do well. We talked about taking this area that's in this orangey color and putting down some sort of a woodland wildflower type seed mix, and let it go, you know, for the whole year. And I brought up the point of what they did over at the Bolton Bean. The owner over there did not want to keep mowing that mound over there, which was a very large Presby system, and he asked to put down wildflower seeding, which at the end of the season, after everything's gone expired, he goes over it and knocks it down, and then it all replants itself again in the springtime and keeps going. So it's kind of a little bit different scenario, but given what we have up above, now I'm going to pull up some pictures here. Can everybody see that? The trees?
No, I'm still on the last screen.
Okay, I think I have to stop the share and then reshare. Here we go. How's that?
Yes, free
Okay.
photo.
So
Yeah.
that's what the overstory looks like when we were standing up near where the cars were, looking towards the east. This is the end of the septic area down here where my cursor is one of the stakes for the septic. The other one's out here, and then we have 2 more further downhill. Let me go back the other way. But if you look down in here, we have, and I'm not any means a biologist or a plant guy, but we have all this ground cover that's down here that's all very similar. That's just growing like crazy in there. So some of that may be saved and transplanted in with the other seed mix. Maybe we just put some of that off to the side and use that back in the topsoil and let that go. That seems to have an abundance in there. That whole little section in there, just it's filled with it. So something on that idea, and that area that we're talking about. Let me get back to the other screen. Is about 3,000 square feet in area. Everything that's going to be disturbed in here with the new fill and grading that's happening in there, the trees that are coming down. These other lighter colored trees, those are going to be remaining. So again, it'll be about a 3,000 square foot area of replanted vegetation that the owner, you know, he liked the idea of not having to maintain it like a regular lawn, just go in there once a year. If it's a wooded wildflower type of seed mix that goes down there, you can just knock that down or just let it go, as long as the woody plants don't start growing in and around that septic area. So that's the only concern.
Right. Yeah, and the once a year will.
Yep.
All right. Any comments from members of the commission, and especially Jim and Sue? Any comments from what you saw out in the field?
Yeah, I think my only comment would be that, you know, in the spirit of the bylaw, right, that you're going to cut down X amount of trees that are wide diameter, and the bylaw says I got to plant Z amount of trees as a replacement mitigation. And given the layout of the lot and how many trees are already on there, that you're proposing 8 arborvitaes, right? Is that that's what I think I heard, Jack, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I had just a comment on this, like, I think in Rebecca's notes, she mentioned that arborvitae are not a suitable, replacement as part of the mitigation plan, that you have to have trees in there, and there are shade-loving trees that can be planted.
Okay. The arborvitaes were picked one for just basically along that base of that wall to use it as a screen, so you wouldn't be looking at just, concrete, those big concrete blocks. I think the homeowner would be open, leaving those 4 there and maybe replanting 4 other smaller trees somewhere around that base area where I show the arborvitaes.
Yeah, I think it just needs to be spelled out in that mitigation plan then.
Okay. And I was going to say, I could see that being there, especially you have it marked out here where those, again, the 4 arborvitaes up against the wall makes sense, especially with the root systems. I know those are native to the area and endangered. But it does make sense to Sue's point that those other 4 arborvitaes you have technically could be trees. It would have an area I would think to take there. So I would tend to agree that if we could see that switched out, that would be good, or written out, that would be good. And it might be something we can put in this evening too. Other questions, comments, thoughts from members of the commission? Seeing none. Any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? Seeing none. All right. So for members of the commission, if we were, as I throw my pen across the room, if we were to close this evening, the plan as it's currently constructed, are we relatively comfortable with the plan as it's currently constructed with the basically additional condition that at least, that the 4 arborvitaes can stay along the wall, but the other proposed spots for arborvitaes should be a minimum of 4 new tree plantings? Right?
Yep.
Sounds good. Yep.
All right. Lauren.
Yes.
Sorry. Do you think we would I'm trying to think of a good way to say that, to write that in, if we were to close tonight, basically approve the plans as they're submitted with the additional condition of 4 arborvitaes proposed along the retaining wall be retained, but the other 4 possible arborvitaes plants on the map provided here be replaced with trees?
I think that wording that you just used is fine.
Right? Do you think? All right. Other members of the commission comfortable with that? Makes sense?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Jack, comfortable with that? Makes sense?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to make a motion.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Brian,
Lauren,
before
please.
you make the motion. But also including the wildflower seed mix as well.
Was
That was
in-
proposed.
Yep.
Or some sort of ground cover that they had proposed.
Yeah, I think on the second page of that, there's a table that shows obviously the arborvitae's, the proper name. And the number of them. And then I think the second one is I expect a woodland wildflower seed mix out of Vermont that they had
Okay.
one. So
Okay, so
if
it's on the
and
plans.
it's on the plans, and if that can
Okay.
be swapped out or added to with some of the existing ground cover that could be saved and transplanted, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. I think then I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing for 89 Spectacle Hill Road. Do I hear a second for closing?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well. All right. Like to make a motion that we issue the an order of conditions for 89 Spectacle Hill Road, DEP file number 112-054, as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting, with the following condition: that the 4 arborvitae's replantings along the retaining wall be retained, but the other proposed 4 arborvitae's plantings on the proposed plans be replaced by trees. Do I hear a second for issuing said order of conditions?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Take care, Jack.
Alrighty, bye.
Okay. Oh, we had time for you. Great. All right. So next up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General. My apologies. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, discussing a notice of intent filed for Lot 2 on Harvard Road, DEP file number 112-0755. Lauren, is the applicant or rep for the applicant here this evening?
Yep, Brandon Ducharme is here tonight.
Okay. And Brandon, I think when we last left off, we had already conducted a site visit. We had come back, had some comments back and forth, and basically we're looking for a revised mitigation plan. And I know you had submitted some stuff. Do you want to walk us through what you were proposing?
Sure. Yeah, no, that'd be great. If I can, I'll share my screen here.
That would be excellent. Yeah.
All right. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can. Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. All right. So basically, we presented a revised plan at the last meeting, and then kind of gave you guys a little bit more time to review that. But just what I want to do is just kind of recap what that revision was. And at the very tail end of the last meeting, Bob Cohen, the applicant and owner, was present and offered up some mitigation. So basically, in our workings with the gas company, Tennessee, Kinder Morgan, we went out and we located the actual location of the gas line, which translated to reducing the size of that easement. And by doing that, you can see the outer 100-foot buffer zone is this red line here. The 40-foot wetland offset is here. Kind of what limits this design is the grading that we are allowed to do in proximity to the gas line. Essentially, what we're doing is we're matching some of these existing grades here. What it allowed us to do is, if you remember from the site walk, is if you stand up at Harvard Road and look down, it's probably a 40 or 50-foot wide cleared area around the gas line. And by reducing that, and I don't know if anybody's driven by, but you can see the flags that they set out there. So now there's a border between those flags and where the existing tree line is. And by modifying that, what it allowed us to do is have the same entryway, but instead of coming through more of the 40-foot that involved cutting trees, we're actually up on the shoulder, kind of within that cleared area. And what was pointed out is unfortunately there's the goal was to try to get it entirely out of the 40-foot, but we've got about a 270 square foot area here, pretty small, where we're proposing some grading, which is really just from the shoulder down to the toe of slope. And what was proposed was to offer up mitigation in exchange of that 270 square feet. The applicant has offered to provide a 3.18 acre, or let's just say around a 3-acre portion of the back of the lot that would go into a conservation easement. I know there was some discussion, I just heard from Lauren today, just about if we had any formal letter from Kinder Morgan. I did not have a formal letter. I called up the contact that I had again today, and I just said, we're still, we were able to modify the design, but can you give me anything more clear cut on what would or would not be allowed? And basically, the one thing that they're firm on is they don't want the driveway to run parallel to the gas line within the easement. So if we were to, and he basically wasn't saying that, no, we're not going to approve any crossing. So, I just kind of discussed with him, of potential options that we could do here. So one of those options is we'd come down. I said, do we have to do like a 90-degree bisection of the gas line? He said, no, I mean, we've approved things up to like a 45. So we could kind of come through here. It would take us to the other side of the easement, would have to run down along the buffer zone here. And then it would be another 45-degree angle that would tie back in here. Now, what that would do is that would pull the grading out of the 40-foot. But again, looking at the entirety of the bylaw, just not the setback, that would also mean a longer driveway, which would mean more impervious area. And, even though it's not within the 40-foot, it would be removal of a lot more trees here in the buffer zone. So, really, I guess what we want to get feedback on and discuss is 270 square feet within the 40 with a mitigation of 3 acres of a conservation easement in the back. Is that a better overall plan as opposed to, going through the process of crossing the pipeline twice, having additional clearing on the other side?
Good question. Let me put it out to commission members. Do people have initial thoughts or comments on that?
Oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but the other thing, just as I'm sitting here waiting, the other thing we can do is, because it's now we've got the impervious out of that 40, is we could also revegetate that that grading within the 40. We could do like a low bush blueberry, something like that, to basically renaturalize that, so the end result would still have a natural vegetated area within the entirety of the 40.
Okay. Comments, questions from commission members, or thoughts on what Brandon has said?
Yeah, I like that idea of putting vegetation back into that little spot. And that it makes more sense that to have the driveway running the way you have it, rather than cutting down a bunch more trees and then crossing again, at least to me.
Okay.
Sue, I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
too. Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
I tend to feel the same, especially with the proposed revegetation. I can see the conservation easement. On the far side of the easement, I know they had, was it a 40-foot easement that they realized should be reduced to 20-foot, right?
Correct, yep.
Which in theory, that gives us an extra 10 feet on the far side of the property, going away from the driveway, not towards where the house is going to be. And I'm wondering, would it make sense to do some of the plantings of the trees coming down in there as well, along that far side, to meet the standard for the trees that are coming down?
Sure, I mean, they've given up that area, so if it's outside the easement, I think we're free to plant in there, yeah.
Right, because I would think then you could meet the new planting standards based on the trees that are coming out, going along that side of the easement, basically dropping trees in there, which I think would be a net benefit to the property in the long run, conservation wise. So I mean, I think I would be comfortable with that. And I hate to ask, but would you be willing to basically submit that? I think we're comfortable with this plan as it's being proposed, but to also have that full replanting plan as to the trees that are being removed, which trees replace those, and the revegetating of that 270 with, native plantings, whether it be low bush blueberry or something along those lines.
Sure, I mean, we can either just do a revision and come back, or if you were comfortable, we could do a condition in there that, and again, I don't know how many trees you're thinking, but we could specify so many native species, such as like a red maple, red or white oak, kind of in that area.
Yeah, and I hate to say, and I'll put it out to other commission members too. I'd almost like to see a revision and have you come back, just kind of a final one that we, rather than trying to condition it and point it all out tonight and calculate it all. But I'm not sure if other commission members feel the same way. People are.
No, I agree. And I guess my other question is, as far as the 3 acres is it conservation restriction? Is it a CR, Brandon?
We're proposing an easement.
Okay, I
Similar
don't-
to
what
similar
does-
to
what-
the easement that's the on the abutting property.
Okay, so it's a conservation easement as opposed to a restriction. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the documentation that's involved with that?
So would have to do up a recordable plan and document that basically identifies the 3 acres there in the back, and then there'd be like a narrative that would also get recorded, that would just describe that, there'd be no cutting, clearing, structures, you basically spell out all that stuff. In essence, it would summarize that it would be to remain in the state that it is now, natural, no improvements.
And that goes on a deed and gets submitted to the registry of deeds?
Correct.
Okay,
Recorded as well.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Other questions, comments, thoughts?
Brandon, how much of that property is already like wetlands or not going to be able to be built because it might be landlocked or something of that nature?
Yes, so, I mean, it would be landlocked. Can you see the screen that I just switched to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the area in blue is the wetland. This is the 100-foot buffer zone. So, this portion of the 3 acres is outside of the jurisdictional area. This balance of the area would be either wetland or buffer zone.
I was gonna say, Brandon, are you able to point out where the abutting easement is?
I know it's on this property here.
All right, I was
yeah.
curious what. Yeah.
So, it was part of a larger subdivision that we did years back. I think I mentioned at the site walk, but at one point there was a couple of septic systems and house lots proposed here. And what we did is that's all accessed off of Norse Road. And we moved those buildings kind of over closer to Norse Road, and then put a conservation easement there in the back.
All right. other questions, comments by members of the commission? All right. Any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? Seeing none. All right. So then, Brandon, with your permission, we'll continue till our next meeting. I think everybody was fine with the driveway plan as currently proposed, and it's basically we'd like to see that planting plan. But I didn't see any additional questions on the driveway as it's proposed or the housing location or anything like that. All right.
Sure. I mean, in my opinion, obviously you got to draft an order of conditions anyway. So maybe if we could kind of use this time to the next meeting to get a draft pulled together, and we'll get the revised plan and yeah, hopefully wrap it up.
I think that's a great idea, Lauren, if you were listening to that.
Yep.
All right. So in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Lot 2 Harvard Road DEP file number 112-0755 till our next public meeting, Tuesday, July 1st at 7:20 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
All right. Thank you all very
All right.
much. Yep.
Thanks, Brandon. Have a good
Thank you.
Okay. Next up this evening, the Bolton Conservation. Oh, I was going to say we've already closed the hearing for 58 Main Street DEP file number 112-0579. If you recall, last time we had gotten our final comments, questions, thoughts, and orders in. We had closed the hearing to give Lauren and Rebecca time to put together the final order of conditions, which they did. It is in our packet currently. If people have had a chance to read through it, any questions or issues with it, if people haven't had a chance to read through it, anybody need more time to look through it? See anyone? All right. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that we issue the order of conditions for 58 Main Street DEP file number 112-0579 as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, so next on our agenda, we had our discussion of SGARs, SGARs. If you remember where we had left off, I know we had discussed that we don't use them on our properties. We're not really in favor of the use, but before recommending a municipal building-wide ban, we wanted to hear from DPW. Sam had brought up too, talking to school committee, the schools. We've heard back from both. You probably have seen letters in your packets or copies of emails. So currently, both the schools and the DPWs are recommending that they're allowed to keep using the SGARs. It is allowing them basically to keep on top of problems that are occurring that they need to keep on top of. So it's very hard to say. There are other options. They're not sure if they are as effective or what the costs will be necessarily. So they have really asked for us not to recommend a full ban on SGARs in municipal buildings. Yeah, and I'm just curious to get everyone's thoughts on that.
I mean, yeah, it seems like it's probably a bad idea to ban them, but at the same time, I'd be interested to know what the alternatives and cost of the alternatives would be.
Yep.
And I guess the effectiveness of said alternatives.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I was talking to Lauren earlier, and I said, I think on one hand, it's incumbent upon us to look at it from conservation standpoint, and from the conservation standpoint, we possibly probably should put forward that this ban does make a lot of sense, and let them figure out the other ways and effectiveness ways to do it. And I think it would just be us recommending it. But on the other hand, I do like to take the input from the other departments. It doesn't make sense for us to try to push something through that ends up shooting ourselves as Bolton Town citizens in the foot and messing up something else. And, and just working independently doesn't make sense to me. So I was thinking, and again, I want to hear other people's comments of tasking poor Lauren, because she doesn't have much to do now. Now that she's got the place to herself. With checking in with some of the other towns that have done the SGAR bans, and I believe Stowe might even be one of them.
Sure.
I
think
to
Marlboro
see if-
might be one too.
I'm curious if they ran into the same kind of pushback, not so much pushback, but the same type of input, I'm guessing, from their other departments, and either how they were able to overcome it, what they've done that's worked. Hopefully they're not infighting amongst town departments, but to see how it's worked for them, what they recommended. I could see if places maybe did it as a phase out, saying within the next 3 years be done with it or something like that, or I'm not sure. So I guess that's kind of where I came down, is maybe let's try to get some more information. But again, I could see either or. I could see us saying, well, we definitely need to recommend it based on conservation, or we definitely shouldn't recommend it based on something else. So I'm curious just to get anybody else. I thank you, Sue, but anybody else have strong thoughts, comments, feelings?
Well,
It
I think
looks
it.
like- Oh, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
It looks like the way that it's been proposed in some of the state legislature is that during like a public health emergency, that you can feel free to use it. Because if there is such an event that, there's, some crazy virus that goes around, because that's never happened before, that you are able to use the SGARs. But they're pushing for, more mechanical processes or other chemical processes in order to eliminate SGARs from a larger perspective. So there would be a push to do, a different form of treatment first. And if that does not work and it becomes a problem, then SGARs are permitted for use.
I was gonna say that's excellent to hear. I was gonna say, I don't know if you were able to send that info, where a link to where any of that the proposed it was
Yeah, I can give you the numbers
Sorry.
for the proposed legislature. Yep.
Thank you. I was going to say, because basically I was trying to look for wording. What's a good way for us to say, yes, we want to get away from these, but we understand X, Y, Z, and we think we should be moving towards this. And that might be a perfect location.
Sure. And I think that makes a lot of sense, is like to phase it out. I do know just from past previous lives, other SGAR chemicals that are being put on the market are exorbitantly expensive in comparison to SGARs. And so I would love to see like a cost benefit analysis for some of this, because if I were to guess, there is a pretty substantial budget increase that would likely come of it as well. They're usually triple, if not quadruple the price. They are like substantially more expensive. And so that's kind of makes a lot of sense. The other thing that we could put forward is that, and this is the way that they should be conducted anyways, but just that it has to be included in the use of SGARs should be included in an an integrated pest management practice, right? So only someone who is a licensed professional who uses IPM practices is allowed to use SGARs. So it's not just like you can go off and to Home Depot and buy
Right.
some sort of chemical and use it that way, but it would eliminate at least that aspect of it. So kind of food for thought on some of that.
No, that's excellent. Okay. Other comments or thoughts tonight? All right. So we will keep researching, and I was going to say, Sam, thank you for volunteering to forward some of that. See if we can steal some language from that. And Lauren, I can talk to you about this too.
Sure, and I'll see if I can reach out to, other towns, Stowe, possibly Marlborough, and see what they've done.
Yeah, that would be excellent.
Yep.
Because again, I would like to put something. I appreciate the select board asking us for our opinion. I'd like to put something forward to them. But yeah, I just want to do a little more research.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Lauren, if you're talking to them, if you don't mind asking, have they done a phase out? Is there some like pull the ripcord if there's some weird virus going around? And where there is a true public health emergency, is any of that language included in some of their ordinances or bylaws?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Does anyone else have any specific questions they might want to include? No.
I can't think of any right now, Lauren.
Okay.
All right. All right. Sorry. Next up on the agenda, we had minutes from our June 3rd meeting. Did commission members who were at our June 3rd meeting, did you have a chance to read through the minutes? If so, any edits, corrections, changes? If so, does anybody need more time to read through the minutes from the June 3rd meeting? Seeing none. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the minutes from our June 3rd, 2025 meeting as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting. Do I hear a second for minutes approval?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori.
I was not here.
All right. Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't have any updates on the enforcement orders. As far as I know, everything out there is still moving towards compliance. No new update on Forest Legacy program, but again, it is slowly moving forward to the best of my understanding. A reminder that July 3rd, we do have the Learn to Fish event at Bowers Springs, co-hosted with Mass Wildlife. And that we still do have our volunteer land steward position open, and there is still one open position on the Bolton Conservation Commission. And I haven't said this one in a while, so I'll throw it out there too, that we do have associate memberships for the Bolton Conservation Commission, which would allow you to join the commission in a non-voting role. So you could come to meetings, come on site visits, but not feel that you had to vote on anything. So I'll put that out there if anybody's thinking of joining and watching this recorded, because that's what people do. I think that is everything I had this evening. Lauren, am I missing anything?
Yep. On the agenda, we have the FY26 commission nominations.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. All the good stuff. So we should, generally speaking, for the new fiscal year, we'll elect a new chair and vice chair. I put it out last time. Anybody interested in the position? It's going to be Paul. All right. I always put forward, I think Lori Stevenson would be great, but Lori, you usually tell me you do not have the available time.
You are funny.
You're killing me. All right. All right. If no one else is quite interested, Jim, chair, vice chair, interested in either or both?
I'll not the chair. But you know, if no one else wants the vice chair, which I'm happy to give up if anyone is interested in that. But if not, I have no problem continuing.
Okay. I was just say, so if no one else is interested, I guess I will happily be willing to be put forward as for chair again. But to Jim's point, you know, happily give it up. And I shouldn't say that like it's a horrible thing. It is quite an honor. You know, I've learned a lot. You know, there's a lot of great things about being chair and or vice chair, but something for people to think about in future years. Lori, next year, I think it's the year. And I might put Paul.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
I might not be kidding about putting whoever's not here next year. We're going to put him up. I'm going to hold Paul to it. All right. In that case, I'd like to now nominate Jim Garrity to be the vice chair of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
All right.
Do I hear any other nominations?
I would like to make a motion that we nominate Brian for chair of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye, and thank you very much, Brian.
Sue,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
And
Brian.
Jim.
I'm an aye as well. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, you're welcome.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Yeah, it is. It's quite an honor. I appreciate it. But again, it's all sorts of fun. Next year's a great time. All right. So Lauren, did I miss anything else?
No, I think that was it. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Commission members have any new business or anything they would like to discuss? Seeing none, I am going to make a motion that we officially adjourn our Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second for adjourning?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
you. All.
you.
See you in a couple weeks, if
Thanks.
not before.
Thank you.
Bye.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Aye.